Hi everyone, hope we're all doing well. Nice to see all of you. My name is Melanie Hapisu. I will be your host for today. Thank you so much for making time to join today's call. I know most of us are winding down for the year, so I'm really grateful for all of us just joining. I think we'll give people a few minutes to join in, and as we do that, I'll introduce myself. So in case you don't know me, my name is Melanie Hapisu. I am the founder and CEO of a digital marketing agency called Digipath Africa here in Kenya. And what we do is we work with businesses to help them generate as many leads as possible using paid ads. So thank you once again for joining in. I hope you can all hear me well, but looks like my microphone is working well. If you can, please give me a thumbs up or say something in the chat section. Just a few house rules. Please keep yourself muted unless you have a question to ask. If you prefer to ask via audio, just raise your hand and I'll give you that opportunity. But if you prefer to type it in the chat, that's also okay with me. You can type it in the chat and we shall get to it. So today we will be talking about how you can generate leads from your digital marketing. Why this topic? Lots of brands have an online presence, that one we can all agree, but the biggest struggle for them is making the best out of that online presence. So anyone can open a page, anyone can have a website, but how much traffic are you driving to that website or that social media page? And how much value are you getting from it in terms of making sales? So that's why we actually came up with this topic specifically to help you generate leads from your digital marketing efforts. And we'll be talking about a lot of things, but just to give you some insight around what we'll be covering, this is what we have on my screen. We will be talking about what is a lead when it comes to digital marketing. In addition to that, we will also be talking about what actually gets you those leads and just the process around getting leads from your digital marketing. So in case this is your first training with me, sit back, relax. It's going to be a wonderful training. I may share my screen on and off. So in case you see me putting out the slides from the screen, don't worry, we are still on the right place. I like trainings to be more conversational rather than a boring class so that then it's more memorable to you. So I hope you enjoy. For those who just joined in, welcome. Questions can be asked in the chat. We were just introducing the training for today. Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. You never know. Your next client may be here, so feel free to tell us your name, where you're joining from, and what you do. And as we do that, I think I'll give it another 2 minutes for people to join while we introduce ourselves in the chat. So feel free to introduce yourself. I'll just repeat it one more time for those who joined in. My name is Melanie Hapisu. I run Digipath Africa, which is a digital marketing agency here in Kenya. So thank you all for joining. Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. I think we will just start off. So first things first, what exactly is a lead? I know a number of us have heard of this word, and for most of us, a lead is a customer. Let's just be honest, a lead is a customer, but the reality is a lead is just a step to converting that person to becoming a paying customer. Remember, when we talk about a customer, most of the time then they are paying for the product or service that you're offering. So I want you to think of a lead as that message you receive from a customer, that comment you get, that sign up you get, that website visit you get. For most people, a lead would be counted when they've exchanged contacts with the customer. But sometimes you really don't have to get that level of exchanging contacts with the customer because of the digital world. So you'll find if you have a website, a customer will visit, finish their whole payment process and buy whatever product or service you're offering without you necessarily getting their contacts unless it's for delivery purposes. So I want you to move away from just thinking that collecting leads necessarily has to be collecting phone numbers and emails and all that. Yes, they're beneficial because you can build a relationship long term, but it could be more than that. And so when you think about this whole lead conversation, it's a journey. It's not a one-day thing. You won't wake up today, post about your company, and expect that the first person who bumps into it becomes a lead. Quickly, they become a customer. No, no, no. It's a whole process. And so when you think of this whole process, when it comes to lead generation, there are very many important things you need to think about in terms of what actually gets you those leads when it comes to digital marketing. Please remember, when I talk about digital marketing, if you've attended my trainings before, then you know it's a whole umbrella. It's not just social media. There's a lot more that falls into it in terms of email marketing and a lot more. So when you think of generating leads, you can generate them on each of these platforms. But what is the key? The key to generating leads is you have to drive traffic to specific content. So your page could bear that content. Your website could bear that content. Your WhatsApp could bear that content. But what is going to convert this person from just being a viewer to actually gaining interest in what you have to offer? Whether you're doing it using ads, which is more of a paid version of it, or whether you're doing it organically without ads. It's all about content. So number one, the first thing you need to think about that will get you to have leads is tell stories that people relate to. Whenever you are marketing, be it a product, be it a service, at the end of the day, you're solving a problem for a specific customer, and your brand is the one that has that solution. So if you do not tell a story that someone relates to, chances of them taking it up or even becoming that lead that you want them to become are very low. And so I want you to think of this training itself. You signed up for various reasons. And maybe just to hear from a few people, I'd love to know, because we all probably saw the same picture of the training. Some just saw a write-up, but what really drew you in to actually sign up and set aside to attend this training? And if you don't mind, I think I'll just pick on a few people. So maybe, hi Brenda, welcome, hope you're doing well. Maybe you can tell us, what's the one thing that made you sign up for today's training?
Hi, Melanie. I'm well, thank you. I hope you don't hear the echo. You hear me clearly. So one of the reasons that I signed up to the training is because I've recently been handling campaigns that are mostly for lead generation. So I really wanted to understand how will I be able to get these leads? What are the leads? And that's why I'm here, basically.
Yeah. Nice. Thanks for that. Thank you so much, Brenda. Maybe we can hear from someone else. Susan, allow me to pick on you. What made you sign up for today's training? Okay, I think Susan dropped off. Maybe anyone else would like to share. What's the one thing that made you sign up for today's training? I'm just using that to explain the whole leads concept. Anybody? Feel free to unmute yourself. There are no wrong answers. It's your honest opinion.
Hi.
Hi, Stella.
Hi. Why I signed in for this is because recently I've been trying to do campaigns, and then I realized there's something I saw in the ad that says, "Are you staying late? Wondering, is the customer coming? Is this customer coming?" So I'm going through that currently, wondering, okay, is my campaign working? Will I get leads? So that's what made me sign up for it.
Great, thanks for that. So just from the two examples we've had so far, you can clearly see there was a story that people related to. For some people, it was the copy in the ad. I remember in the copy, then the text was, can you relate? Do you wake up most mornings wondering if or how you'll be able to connect with your potential customers? Do you go back and forth between excitement and frustration about where your leads will come from? So that sort of story brought most of us in to come here. You need to do the same thing for your consumer, whether it's a product or a service. You need to make your consumer relate and feel that they need whatever you have to offer. I can see Abby in the chat saying she signed up because she's doing lead generation ads and would like to know more. Someone else, Belinda, says she's taking up a new role soon in digital marketing and was curious to gather new information that will be useful in the new role. So thanks so much for that. So different people, different reasons, but the main goal here is for you to generate a lead. The first step is you have to tell a story that your consumers relate to. And this could be in different forms. It could either be in educational content, it could either be in content that you're directly selling, it could be in inspirational content, a lot more. But the main thing is you are trying to build a connection, engage with this customer to eventually drive them to taking up your product or your service. So my point is, it's a process. It's a process, and it's almost like building a friendship. Today, you will follow a page, you will see the content they put up. Sometimes you will never engage, but at one point, as the relationship between you and that brand online grows, you'll find yourself either commenting or resharing their posts and all that, which builds up to you becoming their potential customer should you be interested in buying whatever they have to offer. So what exactly is the process? How do you go about it? First things first, you need to understand who are you targeting as a lead. If you do not have a target audience, I am so sorry to tell you, you are wasting your time online. There is no brand that targets everybody. You have to narrow down to your target audience. Who ideally is this person who will buy from you? How would you actually define them? Not just in terms of the basic gender, age, maybe location. You need to understand them fully. What are their habits like? Why would they buy whatever you have to offer? You also need to think about what information will draw them in to actually take that first step. So if you're on my email list, then you ideally know that I have quite a bit of these free events. But in addition to that, I also have offers that I put out for either paid trainings or in terms of the services that we have to offer. So ideally, the first step to getting you guys to becoming my leads is to offer a free event, because everybody loves a free event. But what happens after that to build up until someone becomes a paying customer is that part of building the relationship. So once I'm able to understand who you are, what information you are, where I can find you, most of us found out about this training from different places. Some people saw an ad. I was running ads on Facebook and Instagram. Some people found out on WhatsApp groups, some people from Facebook groups, some people, word of mouth, different people found out in different ways. So you need to understand which is your best source of finding leads. At some point, I remember before I started my own business, how we would get leads for the business was by attending physical events, networking events mostly. And for those of you who have been on that side of life, then you'll go around collecting 1 million business cards. And then on Monday morning, you'll email them and remind them how you met at an event. That's an example of a lead, just that it's not online. So I want you to keep thinking about it. But the main question here is, how will you manage to convert them from a stranger to now getting to know you, to become a lead, to trust you with their information, whether it's their business card, whether it's signing up for an event like this and giving your name, maybe email, maybe phone number, up until you now convince this person why they should send to you. So there are different ways. Think of it in terms of this journey. And I want to talk about it in two phases. Two phases, why? Because you can generate leads organically, that's without ads, but you can also generate leads using ads. Most people would decide to go the organic way without ads. Why? Of course, you imagine it's cheaper or it's free because you're not paying for anything. But at the end of the day, that's good. But sometimes you realize with the way different social media platforms work, you may end up having to sort of move to the paid side of things so that you can reach a wider audience. For those of you who probably do a lot of research, you may know Facebook in Kenya has around 11 million users. And realistically, your page does not have 11 million of those people. So with the little followers you have, sometimes you need to push your message a bit more to a wider audience. So you find yourself having to run paid ads to be able to reach those people. So think of the left side of my screen, this one with the funnel, more of the organic side. And then think of the right side of my screen, more of the ad side. And I'll explain both. Why both? Because I want you to imagine different ways to generate the leads, because we're going to look at it in a few minutes from a perspective of each platform. So first things first, it's a process. This client does not move from awareness to action. They have to be made aware, find out about your brand. Maybe they see you from a post, an ad, maybe someone has shared. They start generating interest. If you're lucky enough to have a website, maybe the person will visit, go through the different products you have. For those who don't have a website, maybe you have a WhatsApp catalog, or you even have a poster showing everything you have to offer. So someone starts gaining interest and paying more attention to what you have to offer. And in the process of all that, they start to desire one or two things. I'd like to buy this. I'd like to buy this. You know, maybe this I'll buy now, this other I'll buy next year or next month, which eventually gets them to the point of purchase should they have enough information to convince them to buy. And sometimes it's not just information. It's not just about, oh yeah, they have the product, they have the service, the price is good. Sometimes it could be something as little as trust. This person has a website, they want me to buy from their website and pay. Do I know them? No. Can I trust them? I'm not sure. It could be something as simple as, do I have the money now, or would I rather make this purchase later? I always say it over and over again. The same way you get broke is the same way your consumers get broke. So this thing of imagining that you'll do ads and automatically everyone will buy, it may not be the case. Sometimes, depending on what you have to offer, you could find you'll do ads even for 3 months and not necessarily get a sale within those 3 months, but the 4th, 5th, 6th month, you see people who inquired from the ad before starting to reach out. Why? Because at that point, maybe it wasn't the season for whatever they wanted, or they just didn't have the money then. A good example that I think I've talked about a lot today would be leather. Leather products are not cheap. Most of the time, let me say it's just an investment. So you'll find that for someone to see an ad about a leather bag or a leather shoe today and they immediately buy it, they honestly must have been either very rich or they must have been looking for a while and boom, they landed on you. But most times people need time. So you could find that you'll spend maybe, let's say, a few months doing more awareness. And I know that's something that Kenyans don't like to hear, but in reality, awareness is what will get you closer to that lead. If they don't know about you, chances are they will not eventually buy from you. So on the organic side, I want you to think of that. What can you do at each stage to generate a lead? So if it's the awareness stage, you're telling people about you. Your goal is to make as many people aware about what you have to offer. Is it that at the end of your post, you're going to have a call to action like share this post with anyone who you think would need this product, or tag a few friends who would love this bag in the case of let's say, leather bag. And you have those friends at your disposal once they are tagged. If you'd like, you could respectfully DM them. I know some people are against brands doing that, but the reality of it is for small businesses, everything is important. You find yourself reaching out. Sometimes you not reaching out could lead to that person actually not buying from you, but you'll be surprised. Sometimes you reach out and they buy. So if it's awareness, what is going to get you more awareness to be able to get more leads? If it's interest, say people have visited your website, maybe they've visited and eventually they've not bought. What can you do about it? For those of you who maybe do ads more often, you realize that there's something called retargeting, where you can connect your website to the advertising platform and retarget all those who have visited the website before, so that if you visited that website before, you keep receiving their ads, sort of like a reminder. That would be the interest bit to get you to generate leads. But you could also work with the desire phase. The desire phase could look different for different people. If you have a website, it could look like people adding things to their cart. We get those emails from some of the companies we shop from. I personally get a lot of them from Jumia because I keep adding things to my cart. And you'll see them telling you things like, you forgot something in your cart. No, it's not because they love you so much, but simply because they want you to finish paying for whatever is in the cart. So ideally, you're a lead at that point and they want to convert you to become a customer. So all you have to do is think of the different levels and how exactly you can generate leads for each. And if we narrow it down to the different platforms, allow me to just go through this before I take any question. Think of Facebook. You have so many endless opportunities for sections you can have content. You could have content on your feed. You could have content on your stories. You could even have content on Reels. Facebook has introduced Reels as well that you can have. You have Facebook groups. Nowadays, your page can join a group and you can post in that group. What are you doing about all these sections that you can use to put out content to help you generate the leads themselves? And sometimes it's all about interaction. I think the past month, I've been doing quite a lot of polls on my Instagram, as well as in WhatsApp groups. And the other day, someone laughed and was telling me, you're always doing research. I wonder what you're up to with these polls. But sometimes it's just a way to get customers, because once people take out the polls, depending on what goal I'm trying to push with it, then I can reach out and say, yeah, you took part in my poll, thanks. This is what I have to offer, or have you considered to do this and this? And that person now becomes a lead that I'm going to follow up with to eventually become a sale. If we're thinking of a platform like Instagram, for example, again, lots of endless opportunities. You have your stories, your feed, you have Reels, you have Instagram guides, which very many people don't know about. If you're hearing about it for the first time, please go research about it. Good opportunity for content as well. If you go into that Instagram stories, you could use polls, you could use questions, you could use quizzes. We've been given so many opportunities for content that can help us generate leads out of it. Especially when you think of the parts where that will get people to engage with you, and you either get their Instagram name, profile, and so on and so forth. We have quite a lot of them. Please use them. They're here for you to use, and eventually you'll get to narrow down and discover what is it that works for you. So for example, in the past 1 month, I've realized it's so easy for me to get potential clients just by doing a poll on WhatsApp. I had not even known there are polls on WhatsApp yet. I knew they were in the process of considering to launch them, but I didn't know there are polls. And just like that, I've done polls in almost 6 groups based on different issues, questions like, which one are you? Do you plan for your marketing budget, or do you never have a budget? And just from that, then I'm able to reach out to someone, maybe tell them I can help you come up with a budget. Once we come up with the budget, I mean for free, then I sort of now start tuning them to become now a potential client for at least one of the marketing services I offer. So it's easier on the service side because then it's easier to build a relationship when you're talking about service. But for product as well, you can build a relationship through stories. And that's what we were talking about. I remember for me, I can say I'm really drawn in by ads when it comes to purchases. And most of the time, because of then how algorithms are set up and this whole retargeting thing, then you end up getting ads of things you're specifically looking for. And you end up feeling like, oh my God, these guys are listening to me. Well, just a few things have been done to the ad to make sure that it reaches the right person. So in that same way, even when you're talking about a product, try to move away from just the product, especially for those people who have one specific product. Today, if I just sell carpets, I will post about carpets. People will get tired. What else can I talk about? Is it the variation of colors? Is it the feel of the carpet? Is it the weather at that point in time to draw in people to probably purchase the carpet? Is it the different, let me just call them uses of the carpet? Can I maybe eat as I sit on the carpet? Can I maybe decide to catch a nap? Be as practical as possible. What do normal people do with their carpet? For most people, carpets are just there on display, but how else can you get to utilize them? So I hope that has opened up your mind a bit to the organic side of how you can utilize content to generate leads. And if it has, feel free to give me a thumbs up or write something in the chat while we take any questions that may arise so far. So any questions so far while we get to hear from people? Was that helpful? Thank you for the thumbs up, Brenda. Any questions from anybody? Great, happy to see a couple of thumbs ups. Thanks, guys. So organic side done. Now let's go to the paid side. I know most of us are here because then you want to generate leads from your ads. I would really, really love to teach you ads for free, but unfortunately that's not possible. So for today, what we'll be talking about is the process. When you set up an ad, how exactly can you ensure that you generate leads or even make sales out of it? So first things first, when you're setting up an ad, the first thing you'll be asked is, what is your goal? Without a goal in digital marketing, you're wasting time. Without a target audience, you are also wasting time. So you'll find different platforms have different ways to sort of express their goals. So you'll find some maybe will allow you to set up an ad to create awareness, maybe to drive traffic, maybe to get more engagement in terms of either likes, comments, or shares. You'll find some that are specifically allow you to create ads to generate leads, some to maybe drive traffic to an application for people to download, and some to actually make sales. So I want you to think of it in this sense. If you're doing a lead generation ad, specifically this one that's here written leads, what will happen is once you set up your advert and you do all you choose the image, you choose your caption, you choose the gender, location, age, interest, and all that, it will allow you to create a form that sits within the advert to collect people's information. And that's what they ideally now call the lead. So what happens is, for some platforms, I remember previously the way the Facebook and Instagram lead form used to work before, you would just maybe have an advert and tell people, if you're interested in signing up for this training, join the waiting list by clicking the sign up button. Then it asks for name, maybe number, email address. But now things have enhanced. So you'll find maybe if you're a service-based business, maybe you're a health coach, and you want people to join a waiting list for a training that they're going to pay for, sometimes you'll find there'll be serious people who will fill the form, sometimes there'll be jokers. So if you'd like to filter and refine those leads some more, you'll find yourself having to have a lead filtering question. So Facebook has allowed that capability where when you set up that lead form, the first step is it can allow you to have a question that will filter the lead. So for like maybe a health coach, you could ask, are you interested in our free services or our paid services? The ones who choose paid will be directed to fill the form. Those ones who are interested in paying for maybe a program you have. But those ones who say free services, you could have an automated response saying, thanks for your interest. To get our free services, please visit. Then you direct them to your social media where you provide educational content. So what happens is you only end up collecting information for those who are genuinely interested because you're being charged per lead. Of course, that type of ad is more expensive because, I mean, you're collecting information. Ideally, they're helping you out. But if you're generating leads in a different way, say you're driving traffic to maybe your website where people can fill a form, or you're driving traffic to your DM where people can inquire, that's also a way of generating leads. So this whole conversation of someone reaching out on DM and saying, hi, I'm interested in your service, then you ask them which service. No, please have a conversation. Ensure you can keep that person as engaged as possible. I've noticed this, especially people who sell products. Someone will ask, how much how much is this, let's say, shirt? And you tell them 1,600. That's what the client replies. Then you wait for them to reach out to you. Please try build a relationship. Ask them, yes, the price is 1,600. How many pieces would you like? And when would you like your products to be delivered? So that you're sort of encouraging them to get to the end. Most of the time we lose customers because of that. You answer them as if you're talking to your friend. Sorry to say, but this is something that I've noticed with very many businesses. You don't invest in having a response that will keep someone engaged to keep talking. Because by the time you're answering me here 1,600, I go back again, I see your message, I reply, you reply me after 10 hours, I've already gotten another supplier to buy from. So as you're thinking of your ads, ask yourself, one, what is the goal? For those small businesses that have a website, I know you want to drive traffic to your website, but you also need to remember you are a stranger. I want you to imagine the first time that you shopped on an e-commerce website. How easy was it for you to just get to the end to pay, considering that you didn't know this brand? Sometimes it's difficult. And so I say, as a small business, in as much as you want to drive traffic to your website, you can pay it for awareness. But if possible, especially when you don't have too many orders yet, try to drive traffic to a platform where you can have a conversation with the client, even if you still end up driving them to the website to make their purchase. So a good example is, let's say again, I have a website and I'm selling leather bags. One, I'm a new brand, people don't trust my website. Two, leather bags are not cheap. So you'll find that I'd rather drive people to my messages to inquire and say, I'm interested in this product. Then we have that whole conversation of this is the price. Where would you like your delivery? This is how we take payment, especially for those people who are buying for the first time. You find that when you tell someone full payment before delivery, they'll be wondering, what do you mean? So you'll find for some businesses, and I'm not asking you to change how your business works, but it could make things easier for your consumers. You could take a deposit and then the balance you take on delivery. For some, especially because sometimes it's a product that a customer wants to see, you'll find yourself having to wait until delivery, especially if it's you who delivers, then you can get your payment at that point. So think, what are the points of connection in terms of where you can drive your consumer to build that relationship from when they are a stranger to a lead to when they finally start paying for that product or service that you're trying to sell to them. So how exactly can you generate these leads on various platforms? I think I've already talked about the social media bit of it. You can use the different sections that you can leverage on for content to generate the leads. But number two, you could also work with influencers to help you generate leads. And I think for small businesses, especially depending on if you have, I know small businesses, some people will have an influencer friend who you can work, exclusively with on a campaign. For some people, you could find you have to hop onto a market day where they post about your product, maybe for 24 hours because it's more affordable for you. All those can be places where you generate leads. For me, for example, at some point, I was working with influencers for market day for my business. And so I would have a specific day of the week where I work with an influencer. They put up my company's, let's say, poster on their stories, and I allow it at least 3 to 4 days to gain traction. Yes, it will expire after 24 hours, but there are people who maybe will take a screenshot and reach out later. So I allow that so that then I know this one came from probably this influencer last week. And I'm able to reach out, even those who follow me on the business platform. Then you tell them something like, thanks, welcome to our community. And that I can say I learned from someone who welcomes everyone who follows them and tells them what he has to offer. That's a point for you to engage with that person because you never know why they followed you. There must have been a reason. We've talked about the ads bit. Somewhere else you can use to generate leads would be email marketing, especially if you're in the nonprofit sort of sector. Email marketing is a good opportunity for you to generate some leads, especially when you're doing giving campaigns. So rather than just telling people, donate now, you could have an option where people can pledge to give later. And that can be a way you can generate leads for later on. So I want you to think widely. It's not just about, I want to get this person to buy now, There are people like that, very few, who will see and buy immediately. But for most people, it takes some time to build that relationship. I want you to assume this person Googled you and found you online, which is what search engine optimization is. They were doing a search, maybe leather bags in Kenya, and they bumped into your company. That process from when they discover who you are, what you do, up until when they buy is a relationship. I want you to think of a lead like that. And that's why you try to generate as many leads as possible, so that there are those ones who will buy immediately, there are those ones who need slightly more time, and there are those ones who need a lot more time to actually generate those leads. So the main thing is you have to keep refining. If something is not working, give it time. Digital marketing is not a day's thing where today you try, you post something, and after 2 days you're like, it's not working. You need to give it some time. Usually I tell people at least give it a week of experimentation to see what exactly is wrong, and then refine from there, especially if you're doing ads. But even when it comes to organic content, if you're doing polls and people are not engaging, you have to ask yourself, what's the problem? Especially if people are viewing. Why are they viewing and not taking part in whatever we are trying to push here? You need to dig out and see that. And most of the time you find, if you just dive in a little bit more, you'll discover what the problem is. A good example would be, let's say you're offering a service that is very affordable. Maybe let's say you only require people to pay 50 shillings. So by default, most businesses will assume it's just 50 bob. Who would not pay? It's just 50 shillings. But the truth of the matter is, for someone else, 50 bob is quite a lot of money. But for you, maybe it's not necessarily too much money. So you realize that, okay, many people are signing up, but not many people are paying. What does that mean? The problem is at the point of after sign up. Why exactly are these people not paying? What is it that they've seen at the point of paying that is making them feel like they are not comfortable to actually make that payment? Then you need to refine from there. Is it that you'll add more trust elements before that for someone to feel like, oh, maybe I can trust this brand and buy? Is it that that's the page that you're going to talk about benefits? And that's why you see for most, especially people who do online courses, their page will have an introduction to the course, it will have testimonials, it will have benefits of taking the course. Then you'll see it has payments. They do all that for a specific reason. It's not because they just want to fill the space, but they're trying to interact with their consumers and figure out what is it that this person would want to know at this point. So you'll find for some people, the intro is enough to read and find the sign up button and pay. But for others, they'll want to know, oh, who else has taken this course? What did they have to say? What was their experience? For some other people, they want to know, okay, I've heard what people have said, but what other benefits do I get by signing up for this course? So you can see, depending on who you're targeting, in terms of a lead, the process is very, very different. So at this point, again, I will take any questions, maybe any questions from anyone, any comment, any clarification you'd like me to make based on what we've said so far. Feel free to just unmute yourself or feel free to ask in the chat. For those who just joined, thank you so much. We are just talking about lead generation. We've gone a bit deep, but don't worry, you'll catch up with us. Great. So I think just before I continue with what I had, I'd love to hear from a few of us. Stella, if you don't mind, allow me to pick on you because I know we've previously worked together. Maybe you can share with us, just based on your experience of marketing your business, what are some of the challenges? What is it like? What are you experiencing in terms of when you market to when you get your first customer? Are there people who inquire and drop off? Maybe what do you do in such a scenario? Maybe you can share with us a bit of that.
Okay. For me, because I'm selling a product, and maybe fortunately, because I come from a marketing background, I understand what you mean by saying you need a conversation and a story. So most of my adverts, I direct them to WhatsApp, to a WhatsApp number. So that's where I get the messages, and I don't stop there. So if somebody just inquires, for example, the normal one I normally get is, can I get more information on this? So it gives me an opportunity. Say, yes, this is what I do. I do pork prime cuts. Do you want, you have an order, please place an order with us. We do home deliveries. So I continue the conversation there. The challenge sometimes I face with that is that you get so many inquiries and you don't get the last part of the sale. They don't give the order. So it's left there hanging. So sometimes I end up having so many WhatsApp messages of people I don't know because they didn't get to the last part of the sale. So that's the one challenge I get with the WhatsApp. Yeah.
Nice. Thanks for that. I think that's a common sort of challenge I've seen across not just WhatsApp, but sometimes it's easier when you drive the conversation to where you've driven them. So if you're driving WhatsApp, I like that you said you continue the conversation on WhatsApp. If it's DM on Instagram or Facebook, continue the conversation there. But one thing I can tell you, because I've worked with Stella before, is generating leads for a product sometimes is quite interesting, because you get those people who will inquire now and probably buy much later. They were just inquiring to know ahead of time, but there are those people who will inquire to buy now. But the main thing is, after those people reach out, should the conversation drop off at some point, what are the steps you need to take to ensure that that person eventually converts? Most of us small businesses don't do follow-ups. Someone reaches out to your business, you have a conversation, it drops off, and you quickly assume that is not my customer. That's a good opportunity for you to get good insights to determine, is this the right person? Is this the wrong person? So it's very important for you to try and follow up after you told them, especially after you've talked prices and everything. So will you be purchasing from us soon? Is there any way I can make it easier for you to make your purchase, especially for people who have websites? Because sometimes you find people are not buying from you simply because of the user experience of your website, and you're here assuming that it could be something else. So sometimes it's just all about the process that you're taking in to ensure that that the goals are being met. So I can see there's a chat. Yes, in case you have questions and you want to drop them on the chat, feel free to just drop them. Allow me to pick on someone else. Brenda, forgive me, but I know you're currently in the process of running a campaign that is aiming at generating leads. And I know one of the biggest struggles when it comes to generating leads is sometimes you could be running an ad and no leads are coming through. Maybe have you been able to come across a situation like that? How have you maybe dealt with it? Just to encourage a few people on the call before I add on a few tips.
Okay, thank you, Melanie. Yes, I have run ads. I've recently run ads for lead generation, and the specific ad was for Google Display Network and now LinkedIn. So at first, I think I made a mistake putting the whole budget to, like, splitting the budget into two and now putting the budget into Google Display Ads and then the budget into LinkedIn. So I realized over time, on Google, we have good impressions, we have good clicks, but now there are no leads, yeah? And now the ad was redirecting people to the website. So probably people were not comfortable enough to share the information. It's not that our target audience is not there because the clicks are really good, but now no one is sharing the information because the sales team was to follow up later on. But now on LinkedIn, you get the leads are doing well, the clicks and the impressions are doing well. Something I realized also for that particular campaign, on LinkedIn, people who are more comfortable. First, you can be able to target, specifically target the people you want. And then secondly, for LinkedIn, the lead forms was in a Jaza. Like now the information is there because you've shared the information with LinkedIn. The only thing you have to put is your number. So the trust issue has been an issue or the mistake in the ads I've been running recently, and also a lesson. So now going forward, when I'm running similar ads or ads for a similar brand, I will put more budget on LinkedIn. Not that I will neglect Google Display Network, but I will use that to retarget, as you said. You can use the people that have visited your website and still retarget them on LinkedIn. I don't know if I've answered that question.
Yes, you have. Thank you. And you brought up such an important aspect of this whole conversation of trust, because sometimes then the main question to ask yourself is, are these people going to trust me? Trust is not just when it comes to payment. It also comes to information. And you've had that example from Brenda. I remember there's a client I was working with that really wanted us, the main goal of the campaign was to get people to take part in a certain activity in a physical location. But to access that physical location, then they needed to collect people's information. But the main question that came up is, what are you going to do with my information? Like, why do you need my information for me to access the physical place, yet it wasn't a ticket I was buying or something? And that's the one thing you need to assure people. Many marketers do campaigns, collect emails, collect phone numbers, then you end up getting spam emails, spam phone calls, spam messages, which no one wants. So at the end of the day, you have to think about that. How are your consumers going to perceive you? And it's the same way when you think of the money aspect. When you ask people to pay before delivery, you get a little bit of hesitation because I don't know you, you're a stranger. What if you go away with my money? Same thing when it comes to information. So thanks for that, Brenda. I can see a question in the chat. Cynthia, feel free to drop your question, no problem. Rehab says, how do you balance between conversing with customers and not coming off as pushy? I think that's an interesting question, because at the end of the day, I love that we are all human beings and we are not robots. So at some point, you realize when it looks like you're being a little bit pushy. Number one, if you do a follow-up the first time and no one responds, usually I say you should hold your horses a bit, especially if they already read the message. So if you're on a platform like Instagram, for example, it will show you someone saw your message. So sometimes it's not good to push too much, but I think striking the balance is once they reach out, of course, maybe they were aiming to purchase now or later, you can be honest with them and just ask them, were you looking to make this purchase now or in the future? If it's someone who was looking forward to make it now, they could buy today, they could buy tomorrow. Give them at least 3-4 days before you do a follow-up. And after you do that one, wait a bit. I know when you think of salespeople keep pushing. They're always so persistent, very, very patient. But I think when it comes to digital marketing, to avoid being blocked, to avoid this customer feeling like, are you really genuine? You're really overdoing it. Try to just take those steps that I've mentioned. So once they reach out the first time, allow them to digest what you've said, but always have it as a call to action, a question like, are you looking to make your purchase now or later? So that then you're able to know, do I follow up on this lead after 3 months? And that's something that happens a lot. Like for me, when my clients reach out, I always ask, do you see us working together next month? Or when should I do a follow-up? I plainly ask them that. So I hope that answers your question. So I can see another question. Feel free to keep asking. I think Mr. Shem, your hand was up. I'm not sure if you had a question, but if you did, feel free to unmute.
Thanks, Melanie. Mine was not really more of a question. It was a comment with regards to what the previous comments came in. And mine was with regards to, sorry, excuse me. Most marketers, when it comes to lead generation, look at the science bit of marketing and they put little interest to the art. Yeah. So for me, what I've discovered is I've put a bit more of emphasis on the art, which comes with a creative and emotional connection, the human interest, human truth approach. Because we look more into the demographics, we look at the data when we're doing lead generation, and most of the disservice comes from the kind of artwork or the kind of creative that we put into the campaign. So we don't invest much in creating a hook in the artwork. Therefore, we don't end up engaging with our consumers to the level at which we need to. So mine would be a balance between the science, which is the numbers, analytics, data, and demographics of marketing, together with the art. It's not just creating a Canva post that's basic or cluttered with stuff. It's what does your creative got to do with a hook that would lead someone to get more interest into clicking or into wanting to get more on what you're trying to say.
Nice, thanks for that, Shem. And I think I can personally attest to that. I've worked with clients who will initially come, small businesses especially, and tell you, I want us to just promote my page, and you ask them for an artwork and they tell you, let's just use my logo, and you insist, no, it may not be communicating as such clearly, let's do maybe something else, and they refuse. And I think I've had a scenario where we're promoting logo and things were not working for the business, but as soon as we changed to something more communicative, something that would make people stop, then it made sense. And sometimes it could be as simple as, can I say, tying into what's happening now. Now there's a lot of Christmas vibe going on. So for you to stand out or for people to pay attention, you must be in the Christmas, spirit. And so sometimes just how it looks. The other day I was laughing with my mom, who is on this call. Thank you for joining, Mom. I was laughing with my mom and telling her my LinkedIn followers interact only with the posts that have my picture. The ones that don't have my picture, they perform so poorly. But the ones that have my photo, and I remember I was like, so do I need to have a photo shoot of like 1 million photos that I'll just be using, or should I just now move to video content? And I remember she told me they feel a connection, and that's why they're interacting with it. And so sometimes it's something that small, trying to figure out what is that point of connection then you have with your customer. For some brands, it's storytelling. That's the best way then they can sell, by literally creating a fictional story that people are going to read and relate to and buy into what they have to offer. So identify what works for your brand. Thanks for that, Shem. I can see someone else asking in the chat. If you have a question, feel free to just type it in or let me know, then I'll give you an opportunity to unmute yourself. Anne, I'm coming over to you. I can see if you're asking, with social media, you find that there's so much content, and to get people's attention, you need to constantly have content that keeps them coming. What would you recommend in terms of pushing enough content to maintain audience's attention, keeping in mind running an awareness platform alone? Should I leverage automation tools? Break one content into parts so that I can push the content out for a longer period? I really love that question. So before I answer that question, I'll give you an example. The other day I was teaching a class and I asked people how many of them have probably visited a hospital or a clinic this year. And almost everyone put up their hand. Then I asked them, do they follow that hospital on social media? And no one put their hand up. And that's the reality of things. You need to keep creating content to keep people coming. But these people will not come if they do not know you exist. We all have gotten medical attention at one point or another, but we never follow the hospitals we go to simply because they're either always, oh, we have this package, this amount, oh, we have this amount, rather than educating us. And I understand the goal is to make money, even as a hospital, in as much as you're treating people, but you also need to ask yourself, what are some of those things that you can educate people that will drive them in? A simple thing like an annual medical checkup can be used as your content to keep driving people to come. So Cynthia, to answer your question, definitely a lot of brands are talking online. What is going to make you stand out? One, the type of content you use. Is it images? Is it videos? Is it case studies? Is it graphs? Whatever works best for your audience. Remember, it's not about you, it's about your target audience. Experiment on different things, see what works for them. Then once you identify that whole aspect of the type of content, the next thing that you need to do then is to figure out how can you stand out with how you're saying it. I'm a very serious follower of KCB Bank. I think they do extremely wonderful content, especially on the memes. They are selling but not selling. So you'll find KCB maybe making a joke about how it's end month, they know finances are tight, and then they'll slap, they can plug you with a loan. Something that started off as so funny ended up being a solution to someone through that loan they were talking about. So first things first, to stand out, how you say it, how you look online versus who you're talking to. You can't be standing out to everyone. Very, very important to have a specific target audience. But for you to keep that audience coming, it doesn't mean you have to post on a daily, especially for those brands that post on their feed on their daily. Sometimes I ask myself, is it really worth it? If you go and analyze your reports, is there actually a difference when you post 20 times a day to when you post 1 time a day? But it makes sense to post on certain sections of the platform every day. For example, Instagram stories, WhatsApp status. Post every day, post every hour if you like. Just ensure that when you're looking at your reports, people are not now skipping your stories because those people with those dot statuses and it's too much. So always ask yourself that. How often do I need to post? What days are my consumers engaging with the content the most, so that then I work with that? But last of all, to make your work easier when it comes to content, feel free to repurpose, which is what Cynthia has talked about with the chat. Does she break down one piece of content into smaller bits? Definitely. You're making your work easier, but you're also delivering a message about a certain topic in a more in-depth way. So that's one thing you can do. But you could also decide to have themes. Some people have a monthly theme, some are weekly, some are daily. It makes your work easier, especially if you do a monthly one. So for example, in January, everyone is always talking about, new year, new me. Depending on the industry you're in, what can you do around new year, new me? So that then for that entire month, you're able to leverage on that. If it's the healthcare industry, say you are a hospital, what can you leverage on for new year, new me? Are you going to tell people to get that checkup? Are you going to tell people to maybe come for a procedure that will, I don't know, enhance their health or something for the beginning of the year? So always try to break it down in that way. Be as themed as possible to make your work easy. And the beauty is, if you have time, today you're free, create all that content. Even if you'll be creating content for a month or 2 months, schedule that content. Make your work the management of the page rather than struggling to think of, oh, what do we post today? What do we post tomorrow? No, think of that in advance. I know people who come up even with themes for the year, and any free time they get, they start creating content way ahead in time, so that once it's ready, you just schedule and your work becomes interacting with accounts, replying comments, replying DMs, sharing to your stories, and engaging with people. So thanks for that, Cynthia. I hope I have answered you. Maybe we can go over to Anne. I'll take your question. Feel free to unmute.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Thank you for the training, Melanie. It was quite insightful. I have 2 questions. One is how can we humanize a brand without necessarily using your face as the owner? Because I know some people are very skeptical. Maybe you're in another job that when your face is somewhere else, it will be a problem. But I know the importance of humanizing a brand. So what are the different ways in how you can humanize a brand? And the other question is on the social media platforms. I know with Facebook, there's Business Suite. Apart from that, is there any other way you can schedule posts for later, maybe on Instagram or TikTok? Yeah, those are my questions. Thank you.
Nice. Thanks for that, Anne. I love your first question because I've recently experienced that with a client, definitely. Most businesses, I think, due to one reason or another, sometimes you don't want your face, maybe just because you're not comfortable, or because you have another job that may not necessarily allow for that. And first things first, I like to start with the fact that the human element makes everything better, and I'm glad that you appreciate that, Anne. The truth of the matter is posts with your face, videos with you do a lot better, but how else can you still humanize your brand? And the beauty about it is now I think we have lots of options depending on what you do as a brand. So if you're in the service industry, you have your voice, unless you can't also use your voice, you have your voice. But you could also, if it's also a problem to use your voice, you could also use someone else's voice, or make the story in your copy more human. So for example, sometimes it's not just about seeing the human side of it, but relating to the situation that this person is talking about, either in terms of the wordings they've used on their caption or the wordings they've used on the visual, and sometimes just based on the visual. I know someone, especially sleep cleaners, they do quite a lot of humanizing using visuals. So you see someone doing sleep training for babies, maybe using a lot of pictures for children, maybe a picture of a frustrated mom. You know, you see someone maybe using a video maybe of a mother who is dozing away. So the human element sometimes, depending on what you do, does not necessarily have to be you. It could be pictures from a different source. But sometimes you find when the business is mostly, say, you, let me say today you're a fitness coach and you want to, yes, push out communication about the different things that people can do to improve their fitness, but you don't necessarily want to use your face on it, then the conversation becomes a little bit different. So now your story has to be relatable in terms of copy, and in terms of, is it other pose images you use or other pictures of exercises? And the beauty about the internet is you could almost have a picture for anything, of course, non-copyrighted ones. You could get different images that will sort of guide around that. So those are just a few ideas, but I see most people who are not comfortable moving in the audio direction. I think product people have it easy because it's just the picture of the product. I hope that gives a few insights. And before I go to your second question.
Yes. It has, Hapisu. Thank you.
Well,
and if I just ask something else, on the using of the audio, you can use it on, it's like a voiceover, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
That's a voiceover.
So it's like a voiceover. So the different platforms, allow me to just mention Canva, which Shem used. So platforms like Canva, you can easily add an audio to a picture even, or to an image, you know. So there are platforms that can allow you to easily do that. That's if you don't want to work with a graphic designer to do it. So it's almost like a voiceover on a picture or a video. Yes.
Okay, thank you. It's well understood. Thank you so much.
Great. So to your next question, for those of us who love to schedule content other than Business Suite, which is already inbuilt on Facebook, which you can actually connect to your Instagram account to still schedule content from that side. There are many platforms. Personally, I actively use one called Hootsuite, and I think I'll just type the names in the chat. So I use Hootsuite. I think it's free to a certain number of accounts that you can connect, but I also use a tool called Planoly. So those are the two that I actively use. I think Planoly also allows you to schedule content to TikTok as well. So that makes work a little bit more easier. But I'm sure today, if you went and just looked for social media scheduling tools or social media management tools, you bump into a number of them. So I can see someone else also had a similar question to Anne. Christine, welcome. Thank you for joining. I can see on my DM another question from Belinda. She asks, how can you humanize a brand that deals with IT products or electronics? Good question. There's a TikTok page I'm thinking of, but unfortunately, I don't know the name of the brand. Belinda, maybe if I find it, I think I have your email. If you signed up to this, I can share it with you. But what this guy does, he sells computers. And he realized that everyone will post a picture or a video and put the specifications of the product. So instead, he decided to leverage his content on helping people solve problems they have with their computers. So for example, my computer is a bit slow. What could be wrong? So you'll see him recording a TikTok video of him going to the settings to check how much storage or how much RAM is being used on the computer. And in the caption, he'll now put in, to get this computer, then he'll put in the details of the computer. So that's one way that I've seen that is interesting for a brand to sort of humanize it. The old school way that you'll see people probably humanizing a brand is maybe having a model pose with a picture, but I think we're moving quite a bit from that. So I think now it's more on what you're communicating. So other than the visual, what else can you add in terms of copy to make someone feel like they relate to that brand? I know, especially, I'm trying to think of a shop that does that, where they will either leverage on things like, let's say if they're selling a phone. So are you tired of your phone always hanging or not having enough storage? Then they'll sort of put a picture of the product and the specifications of it. So that could be one way of sort of building a connection in terms of, oh my God, I relate to what these guys are saying, other than just having the picture of the person who is selling the product itself. So you'll find for some brands, it's necessary to have maybe the face or the voice of the brand, but for some, you'll find, especially when I think of an IT product or an electronic, unless you're then demoing how to use it, sometimes it's a little bit, let me say, tough to bring in the human element to it. But I hope, Belinda, those tips could help. Nice. So thank you, Belinda, for confirming. So I think that's it in terms of questions. I hope that today's session has opened up your mind towards the different ways you could utilize the different platforms to generate leads. A few more people would have loved to join who did not make it. So I have been convinced to share the recording. So I will share the recording and I will share the PowerPoint as well that I was going through. So in case you joined in late, you get to catch up on that. But as a tradition, for those who are new to this call, before I end my calls, I like to ask in one word, how do you feel after this training? And allow me to start with Shem. One word, not one sentence, just one word.
Insightful.
Great. Eva, your one word?
Confident.
Great. 10.
10.
Okay, we'll come back to 10. Belinda, your one word? Or Anne?
For me, I feel educated. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anne?
Motivated.
Wonderful. Leo?
Educated.
Thank you. Rehab?
Enlightening.
Great. Brenda?
Eye-opening.
Nice. Abby? I can see Belinda saying educated. Christine, your one word in those few minutes.
Inspired, inspired, inspired.
Fantastic. Cynthia? I know you had some audio issues, but feel free to type it in the chat. Maybe finally, Trufosa, your one word.
Refreshing, always refreshing to sit under you. Keep it up, Melanie. Thank you.
Great, thank you. That's my mom, guys. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. I think for me, my one word for today is excited. It's been interesting to just even listen to those who've experienced some of the issues we were talking about with leads and how they were able to sort of solve those issues. So I'm glad I can see Cynthia in the chat saying excited. I can see Christine saying, thank you so much. You're a breath of fresh air. You are all a breath of fresh air too. So it was lovely to have you all here. Have a wonderful day. Stay tuned for the recording in your emails. I really appreciate it, and feel free to forward that email to anyone who needs it. So have a wonderful day. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to those who I will not see again. And thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. Bye-bye.